Hey, in this video, I'm gonna tell you about how I bought a triplex about 4 years ago and what are the two top things you can take away from it. Hey everyone, I am Mr. Maciek. Welcome to the channel. If you are interested in investing in real estate, any kind of money making, or just building your net worth, then please subscribe below. I would really appreciate it, and I thank you. Well, let me set the stage. This is a story about how I purchased a triplex in Bradenton, Florida. And this was at a time when there were barely any auctions coming up that were worthwhile. Also, not many triplexes exist in Bradenton or Sarasota. And the last thing is that it was very underpriced. But there are two big lessons that came out of it. So back in 2016, I was on the market shopping for a really good single family home or a duplex, triplex, or quadplex. I had some money put away and I just wanted to buy something that was gonna go and make me residual income. So first thing I did to really find a deal is that I was on top of it. And I mean, I had a search set up for single family residences that would beep my phone immediately when something hit the market. And also, I had a second search for multifamily properties that immediately would hit my phone when something went on the market. This is actually one of the big keys of success of finding deals. It's about being first to see it, first to offer, and first to ask the seller to possibly accept my offer. But in this case, this was actually an auction property. So what happened was that it hit the MLS. It was shown that it was an auction and is gonna be held in about 7 days. So I set a reminder so that I would be ready to offer about 1 hour before the auction ends. Now, for those of you that don't know, when a property goes up for auction on a big website such as Hubzu, then what they do is they say the auction begins here and then ends here. And this is sometimes a 2-day time span, a 3-day, maybe even a 7-day. I do believe this one was 3 days if I remember correctly. So I set my alarm to remind me right before this auction ended, probably half an hour to an hour before. And also at that point in time, I also knew what I was willing to offer on the property. Since it was bank owned, it was actually vacant. So I have driven by that property and looked around and walked the premises. I had not been inside because there was no access to the inside. So I didn't really know what was going on the inside short of peeking through the windows. But I was familiar with the neighborhood. I was familiar that there was a drug dealer next door, and I did see that it was generally a lower income neighborhood. But it was not ghetto, and I was fine with that. In fact, it was a redeveloping zone where it's actually pretty close to downtown Bradenton, and it could use 5 to 10 years of development before it starts being middle class. And that was an opportunity. So I was there, and here is the auction about to end. And first of all, I noticed that not many people were bidding on this, probably because of the location and the condition of the property. So great, I don't have much competition. Okay, so what are the two things that I learned? Number one, I learned that when you go on these websites, many of them will actually extend the end of the auction time frame to be 15 minutes after the last submitted offer. And that was the case here. I'm so glad I read all the rules and terms and conditions. So I found this out about half an hour to an hour before the auction ended, when my reminder got me on the computer and got ready to start bidding. So naturally, I offered my first offer. 15 minutes, the auction ended. And then I was the highest bidder. Great, excited, ready to go, hoping no one else bids. And this was a very long 15 minutes. I could not believe how long this was. But next thing I know, 10 minutes down the line, 5 minutes to auction end, someone else outbid me by just $500. So I immediately get in there and I put another offer in. This went back and forth about 7 times, except I would answer immediately, he would wait 5 or 6 minutes. So now we're like half an hour past the deadline that I was expecting. And I decided, hey, I'm going to put another offer in until I win, and I'm only gonna increment it just a little bit. Just another thing you can learn is when you bid on auctions and there's 2 or 3 people bidding, don't just go give your highest bid, because then someone's gonna outbid you. So go just a little bit at a time. So it's going back and forth, and I win the auction. Unbelievable price, $46,100, and I got a 3-unit complex. Now, all purchases had to be cash, could not do any kind of financing, and you had to buy it within 30 days of auction ending, and that was just fine by me, gave me plenty of time to do all my due diligence, title searches, and everything I needed to do. But I could not back out. That was the one thing. That's it. I've already done my inspection period, and it was over. I was either going to lose $3,000 that I put down in escrow money deposit, or I was going to buy the property. There's no other option. So let me get into the second lesson that I learned. But before I tell you what it is, please like this video. I would really appreciate it. And also, it'll help everyone recognize that this is valuable content. Please click it now. So the second thing that I learned is about how sketchy banks can be when selling a property. Now, usually an auction property has already had a clean title search done, gone through the whole foreclosure process, but it's being put back on the market to be sold with a deed. And this was a special warranty deed, not a general warranty deed. I'm not gonna get into the description of what that means, but it's just a slightly different deed. But here's what happened. Here's where the bank was sketchy. What they did is probably about 3 weeks down the line, we're like 1 week away from closing, and I get this letter saying, hey, would you mind signing this? That's it. That's all they did. Now, I was acting as my own agent, so, I got this and I started reading the paperwork. I do recommend you read all your paperwork. And it says that I am not going to hold the seller responsible for this one particular lien. And I said,
wait a minute, what lien?
I'm not buying a property with a lien. I'm buying a property free and clear of all liens. That's the whole point of buying property. I don't want to pick up someone else's garbage. So what happened was I dug deeper. I did not sign this. I refused to sign it. And then I went to the county and I started looking up all the history on this property and what is this lien. And all I was able to find was that there was actually a code enforcement notice. It was not yet a lien. So I called code enforcement, asked to speak to the representative in charge of it. So get this, code enforcement issued a violation notice on the front door of a vacant property where the previous owner, before the bank, had already abandoned it. And that notice said there is one garbage bag in the front that was not in a bin and it needs to be picked up. Well, the owner never got it. He didn't even care. He was letting it go to foreclosure. Then the bank picked it up from foreclosure and this code enforcement lien just kept going. So it never got resolved. And what happened was that by the time I called to try to resolve it or at least get some information, 810 days have passed. Now, that's over 2 years and 3 months. And what that means is that for that long, they were accumulating $100 per day and they wanted me to pay for it. In case you're not good at math, that's $81,000. And they wanted me to pick up the tab. And I said, no thanks. So here's what we did. I started talking to the bank and tried to resolve this. And I said, hey, how about I buy this for $46,000 like the auction is, and you pay that $81,000. And they were obviously not up for that. So I said, grant me a 30-day extension and I'm gonna go try to fight this case for you on your behalf with the actual city of Bradenton. So I did that. I went to the once a month meeting that they do where all of the cases are presented. By the way, I highly recommend you go to those. Very informative and I learned a lot. And then I presented my case. And it was basically this little me behind this little podium, and then there was 8 or 7 code enforcement officers on this panel looking down on us, and they're like sitting way higher than you too. So it was a little bit intimidating. And I presented my case and I said, look, I'm trying to buy this property, pull permits, make some roof repairs, get this place better and rent it and pay taxes and the whole shebang, but I need your help. I need you to eliminate this lien because they're not gonna go pay it. And then it's gonna be stuck forever, and then you're gonna go and foreclose on it eventually, and what are you gonna do with this kind of property? So what they did is they actually agreed to the largest decrease by statutory limitation. What that means is they took that $81,000 and they reduced it down to 10%, only $8,100. So I took this information, brought it over to the seller, and the seller agreed. And I was so relieved because I wanted this property so bad. And I just thought, if it's meant to be, it's up to me, and indeed, it worked. But hey, if it didn't, I'm sure there would have been other opportunities out there for me. So the second lesson was don't get swindled by some shady seller trying to sneak some document over to you. Even though I wanted that property so badly, I still decided to read and investigate before I signed any document, and I never signed it anyway. So don't get pushed and bullied around, and don't lose sight of what the whole goal is when you're investing in real estate, because easily I really could have come out with a big problem. Just one signature would have resulted in me owing $81,000. So I was diligent and I was patient and I did my research. And at the end of the day, I won. I really feel I did. So those are two lessons that I learned from a triplex that I purchased, which I still own to this day. And it's a great cash flow property. So if you are interested in investing in real estate, please watch this video. It's going to show you how you can get into it with very little money down. Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't yet, please subscribe below.